Hello, I am Sapphire Siren. I am the server administrator for the Jaspellot SMP server that Jaspel shows on Twitch and manages through her Discord channel. I am also a technical Minecrafter. I've been playing for about 6 months and mostly watching YouTube videos and replicating farms, but I've actually designed one because I have some tree farms on that server, so I need a lot of bone meal. So I came up with a compact weeping vine farm design here that tiles only 4 blocks high, and then you can repeat it in rows like this. You can put flying machines at the ends here hooked up to daylight sensor towers to kick them off like this. So the flying machines will fly through here. You'll notice the signs here are important because they're not a pushable block, so the slime won't get stuck on them. And then as the machines go through, they break the vines and push them into the water collection here. We've got another daylight tower on the ends where they'll stop. And then assuming that it turns night, I've got the day-night cycle turned off right now for the video. But every time that it turns night or someone sleeps or it becomes day again, the flying machines will move. And if you have the default game settings, it will be a maximum of every 10 minutes. So the weeping vines grow every 10 game ticks, which is about every 11 minutes. So we really can be this space efficient with it. Now, like all great farms, I didn't come up with the original concept myself. Really, I was inspired by Ilmango's peaceful weeping vine farm, and there are some other instances of using flying machines for weeping vine farms on the internet. So I'm not the originator of this idea, but I was watching the series and I realized, wow, there's really a lot of air down here. And the vines will never grow to if you're kicking this machine off every 10 minutes or so. So the farm idea here compared to the traditional cactus farm should be it's close to twice as space efficient, and space efficiency is also a decent analog for the effort involved in building the farm. So if you're able to build a large farm, then really you'll probably wind up getting more bone meal per hour out of this. It doesn't make as much sense for a smaller farm because of the effort involved in the flying machines. So if you have access to Cactus and just have a little bit of time, it's probably still worthwhile to make a cactus farm. But if you really want a lot of bone meal at scale, then I think this farm should perform better. Now, I'm not proficient yet with things like the carpet mod, so if somebody wants to build this at scale and test it, I'd be really pleased to see how this does at scale. So next, I'm going to do some math of what I think. I'm going to show off some math for what I think the rates should be, but I'd really love for somebody to come along to prove it. Okay, so for the cactus farm, we have a 2x2x4 area, which is one cactus every 16 cubes. And the cactus grow every 16 random ticks, which is one every 18.2 minutes or 3.2 cactus per hour. And the composter, they have a 50% chance of raising the compost by 1 level, which in 7 levels means on average we'll need 14 cactus to create 1 bone meal. We plug those numbers together and we get a ratio of 0.0147 bone meal per hour per cube. Now for the weeping vine farm, I have a little cross section of the farm set up here. And this tiles in a 1x9x4 area, and I'm including the hopper line or the air block here as part of the tiling of the farm. And so that winds up being a 2/9 ratio of weeping vines per cube. And these grow every 10 random ticks, which is one every 11.4 minutes or 5.27 per hour per plant. A big difference between the cactus and the weeping vines is the weeping vines have a 1/3 drop chance when broken. And yes, some of the cactus will be lossy when they land on other cactus plants and break. But we're assuming a theoretically fully efficient cactus farm that we're comparing against. So combining these numbers, I didn't do this calculation on the cactus farm, but for the composter, they have the same 50% chance to raise the composter, so we're doing a one-to-one comparison here, but we're plugging these numbers together, and we're getting a 0.0279 bone meal per hour per cube ratio. And comparing those numbers, the Weeping Vines is an increase of 90% over that. To take a look at the number of blocks involved in placing these, we've got 1, 2 for the plant, and then based on the size of the farm, it's going to be somewhere between 2.5 to 3 blocks to place for each of these. So it does get more efficient the larger you build. For the cactus farm, we're looking at about 3.5 blocks to place. So there's the slab, there's the sand, there's the cactus, and then there's the fence in between every two. To build this farm, it's a little difficult to say exactly what you would need to build a farm because it is so flexible in how it would scale. So instead, I'm going to show kind of what's needed by components. So for the ground row, you need 8 blocks for the bottom, 8 for the top for the vines to hang on to, hopper for the collection, sign to hold back the water block itself, and 8 vines to hang on top. For the sides, you'll want to close in the sides, but this is really just for the edges of the farm. So you really only need 24. You can kind of skip the block in between if you really want to, but otherwise it's 32 for each side. For the floating rows, it's 8 for the top because you can reuse the ceiling of the row below it for the water. We'll use a trap door instead of a hopper to let the items fall through. So this is a little bit more lag friendly. We'll use another crimson sign, and this can be any wood really. It doesn't have to be crimson, but any of the woods here, any of the sign types. 8 more weeping vines, a water bucket, and again 24 on either side of your farm. For the daylight towers, you'll need 1 daylight detector each on each side. I do recommend using obsidian. If you have a maximum size flying machine, you don't necessarily need obsidian, but it's still a nice safety measure if you can afford the obsidian. Then you'll need a trapdoor on either side to do the block update for the observer, and some kind of opaque block to transmit the signal downwards, and then a redstone dust and a torch for each of these items in the tower. For the flying machines, it's just a basic flying machine, but has really long sides. So it's 2 observers, 2 sticky pistons, up to 18 slime blocks, and 2 non-sticky blocks on the edge. For the number of composters that you need in your farm, it's really not a lot. You really don't need composters very frequently. So this is a calculation based on the speed at which hoppers move their items into the composter, and that's 1 item every 4 redstone ticks, or 0.4 seconds per item, which translates to 9,000 items per hour. If we take the drop rate of 1 single weeping vine plant, it's 5.27 growths per hour divided by a 33% drop chance is 1.76 items per hour per plant. So we get this calculation where a composter can support 5,120 weeping vine plants in the farm. You don't need to go to quite that extreme if you don't want, but you really can go very high with these stacks if you do one composter per stack. So if you do 1x16 sections, you can do 40 sections. For 1x20 sections, you can do 32 sections, which is halfway to build height on each of these. If you really want to. It doesn't hurt to place composters a little bit more frequently than that, but you really don't need to make them very common in the farm at all. Okay, so now I'm going to build a sample of the farm in a 2 wide area for the flying machine. So we're just going to come over here. We're going to stake out our area. That's 8 wide. Sorry, 8 long and 2 wide. I'm going to go ahead and place this area for the flying machines. Did I count right? 2, 4, 6, 8, yes. wall here. And then we're going to place our mid-level up 3 high. Go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. We're going to leave these areas open for the flying machines. There's no reason to build a farm this small, but just for the example. And for our second layer here, we'll go up another 3. Okay. Now we're going to place our hoppers. And on the hoppers, we're going to place some signs. This is to hold the water back. Okay. And for this next level, we're going to place our trapdoors down here. Now, assuming this were actually another segment of farm here, we would also place trapdoors here. You don't need this on the last segment, but just to show off what this would look like if we needed it, is we'd have the vertical system here. Okay, so now we're going to place our vines. And to place the water, we're going to enclose these areas of at least 1 block on the side. Now for the whole farm, you're going to want to enclose all of the sides because the vines will get thrown all about. Okay. And up here. Now we can place our water. I'm not going to put the water on these yet because I want to make the daylight towers, so I'm going to do that next. So for these, we're going to place a trapdoor with an obsidian block behind it. If you have a max size flying machine, you don't necessarily need the obsidian block, but I'm going to use it here because I'm using the small flying machines. So go up 3 high, place another trapdoor and an obsidian block. And I'm going to kind of put the appearance of a wall here. The daylight sensor can go here, and then we'll place our torch tower going down. So that's redstone dust on top and a torch on the side above the redstone dust below it. It's just a typical downward signal tower using torches with the daylight sensor at top. We'll do it again on the other side here. And when you place this, you want it to be rotationally symmetric, and that's because of the way that you build the flying machine. Again, 3 blocks in between the trapdoors because it's a 4 high pattern. Give the appearance of a wall. daylight sensor, torch tower, redstone dust on top, torch on the side to send the signal down. Okay, to build the flying machine, it's just a simple one tile high flying machine. So we're going to place an observer pointing away from the trapdoor with a slime block behind it and a sticky piston facing into the slime block. Place a sticky piston next to the slime block with another slime block that is connected to with an observer pointing into the slime block here. The slime block will carry the redstone signal to the piston. And if you're building the farm for real, you'll just make this as wide as you want up to the push limit with a non-sticky block on the end so that it doesn't cling to the walls. I'll make another flying machine here. So observer into the pointing away from the trapdoor. The slime block behind it, sticky piston here, sticky piston next to the slime block, another slime block here, and an observer here. And then we'll kick off the farm like that. So it's possible to also make this farm using honey blocks, honey block flying machines. These do have to be too high because the honey blocks will move item entities that fall on it. So like Omango did in his peaceful video, you were going to want to cover this with glass. So these will be a little bit less space sufficient, but still plenty fine. So they'll have to be 5 high to allow for this extra glass layer, but they work pretty similarly. Alternatively, also here on the bottom, if you're short of iron for the hopper lines, you can create a continuous water stream here. The only thing though is you won't be able to place signs here, so you'll have to leave an extra air block, and you'll notice that down here this is 7 high. So it's a little bit less space efficient, though it's not really too different in effort, especially if you're building above ground. So it's certainly doable, and there are alternatives that you can do here. And you'll also definitely want to close in the sides, which I did not put in the effort of doing here. As you can see, like some of the vines are getting thrown about everywhere. So here we are in a snapshot of the Jaspellot SMP server, where I've been working on building this in survival. And here's the ground layer that I've gotten mostly finished. I've just been waiting on placing the water here to kind of work on the flying machines on this side. And I've been working on a second layer. Oops. And I've been working on a second layer that I haven't quite finished yet. So I've got the flying machine placed. Need to place the vines and place the water. But really, I need to work on the other daylight tower on the other side here. I've only been doing this one 4 wide, which is still relatively small, but this is somewhat on the edge of my base where I have to place this. So it's not the largest footprint that you could have with one of these farms. Here we are right next door with my cactus farm that you can see. And so this is a 19 by 19 for the collection area up about 60 blocks. It's about 12 or 13 layers. And I get about 2 3/4 stacks of bone meal every hour from this. When I'm in this area, of course, it's based on being present for the random tick speed. And right above it, this is actually right underneath the collection area for the tree farm that I've got. That is available for others in the community to run as well. So yeah, if you want to see more from the Jaspellot server, come check out Jaspellot's Twitch channel. I'll leave a link in the description below, and thanks for watching.